got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When your road seems rough ahead and you're miles from a nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said, and boy, you got a friend in me. 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 You got your troubles and I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, we can see it through. Boy, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Some folks are trying to get a little bit smarter than I am, bigger, stronger too. But none of them could ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
That was good?
Seven takes, that was it.
That's not bad.
Unless you want to do it again.
I don't know.
So we'd get another, get two more good ones.
Yeah.
Good one.
Friend in me.
Jared, don't move. Stay in the camera. Sing it. You got a friend in me. Come on.
You got a friend in me.
No, you have to stay in the camera, baby.
Please? You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Keep singing it.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
Oh my gosh. Stay here, baby. Please try it. Try it like this and say, you've got a...
You got a friend in me.
Okay, again, go.
You got a friend in me.
So hard.
Hey everybody, we're in our You've Got a Friend in Me series, and today we have an awesome topic. We're talking about non-Christian friendships. I personally love this one, and Adam is going to be having a great conversation with one of our friends. His name is James, and they're just gonna be discussing the dynamic between someone who believes in Jesus and someone who doesn't necessarily believe in Jesus, and how their opinions differ and challenge one another. And I think it's really beneficial for our church and the wider church to just make sure as Christians, we're not isolating ourselves and that we are having really healthy, beautiful and beneficial relationships and friendships with people who don't necessarily believe the same thing as we do. So I hope today you can just be challenged. I hope that you can take something from their conversation that you can bring into your relationships and friendships with people of different faith or people of no faith. And I really hope that that just spurs you on to share the gospel and just to relate to people with love. Today, our passage is 2 Corinthians 4:13-18. So that's gonna come up on the screen for you guys to read, and we're just gonna have a time of worship.
trust in you. We will trust in you. When there seems no escape, you're the one, the only way. We will look to you. We will look to you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. No, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. When tragedy strikes, when morning fades to night, we will trust in you. We will trust in you. When there seems no escape, you're the one, the only way. We will look to you. We will look to you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. No, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. No, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. No, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we're in you. We're in you. We will build our lives on you, the rock who can't be moved. We will build our lives on you. We will build our lives on you, the rock who can't be moved. We will build our lives on you, Jesus. We will build our lives on you, the rock who can't be moved. We will build our lives on you. We will build our lives on you, the rock who can't be moved. We will build our lives on you, Jesus. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. Oh, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. Oh, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. Oh, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. Oh, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved. Oh, we will never be shaken. For we are rooted in you. Oh, we will not be shaken. No, we will not be moved.
As you guys worship, I encourage you to just think of someone in your life who may have different beliefs as you. And I encourage you to just pray for them. We're going to take 1 minute and we're just going to pray. We're going to pray for people of different beliefs, different backgrounds, and different faith or no faith at all. And I hope you guys can just really love on them in prayer. And I hope that even pushes you towards action and beautiful conversation with your friendships.
There's no other name more worthy of praise. He stands alone. He stands alone. There's no other name more worthy of praise. He stands alone. He stands alone. There's no stands alone. There's no other name more worthy strong and mighty, King of glory, he is worthy. Strong and mighty, King of glory, you are worthy.
I think because growing up, no one really teaches us how to be independent. That's something just kind of to learn through it. And I think that young adult age is where you just feel really lonely and try stuff out and figure it out on your own. So when you're in your like adult age, you're able to be by yourself without feeling too lonely. Or
I think it actually comes down a lot with social media, because a lot of times you see people on social media having fun, whereas like say you're alone like having to do work or study, and it just exacerbates your loneliness because you know you're not out there doing the things with them. And also I think it's hard to make genuine connections these days, especially like here at U of T. A lot of the times with people you just see them in class, which only happens like once or twice a week, and people just come and go. So I think that's why.
The other thing that I think might be a cause as well is like the academic pressures, because in university you have like you have to work on assignments and stuff, and that might be taking some time for people to socialize with others, and so that might be a reason as well.
I think you're always surrounded by community. In high school you have your classes and go to every day, in college as well, and then as you get older you start to lose that. So once you're out of college you don't really have that sense of community anymore, and going to class, seeing the same people every day. So I'd say that's a big factor.
I think it's because of the work culture here. The student culture and the work culture here just doesn't allow for personal relationships as much as you would like. Constantly studying, constantly working. It's always dedication to improving yourself, and I do like that, but there are things in life that are more important than money. There are things in life more important than whether you get 100% on this test. I think people should value the time they spend with the people they love a little bit more. But I think the culture in Toronto specifically is very, very, very dedicate yourself to improving yourself, and not emotionally or mentally. It's just climb up the corporate ladder, make as much money as possible, get the highest grades possible. And that's just the way it always has been. So
Hey everyone, welcome to the final video in the series, the You Got a Friend in Me series. My name is Adam, you all know me, and today I am James. And this is my friend. We've been friends for a few years now. And guys, today, before we really full on explain who you are, today this is my heart, is that we would aim for love as the highest order, above difference of opinion, difference of politics, difference of religion, and that friendship can be seen as this transcendent value beyond so many other things that are tearing relationships apart right now. And that's the whole reason we're doing this series, because the world's been through a lot of crap.
A lot lately.
Yeah. And so we met... well, I'll let you tell that story, but we, in terms of spiritual things, we don't necessarily share a lot in common. You wouldn't consider yourself a Christian. Do you follow Jesus at this current stage of your life?
No.
Okay, well, I got a bathtub in the back in case that changes in the next half an hour, and we'll dunk you in. But anyways, for now, let's just tell the story about where we're at. How did we meet? How did our relationship start? And how did we become friends?
Okay,
Yeah.
So we met in a gaming store basement, and we both had a common interest in a game called Warhammer, and Adam paints those. That was one of his side jobs. So I had walked up and started talking to him about it, saw his miniatures. They looked beautiful. I asked him if he'd be interested in paying to teach me how to paint. So he actually, I said...
Me pay you to teach you how to paint?
No, the
That's
other
the
way.
other way.
The other way. I would hire Adam to teach me how to paint. So I requested if I could come to his house and sit with him every Saturday morning for 2 to 3 hours and pay him an hourly rate and just sit there and paint with him. And, you know, after he agreed and showed up, we would get to talking because it's just him and I in a room alone together. You know, 2, 3, 4 weeks of this consistency and showing up and talking, and we got into some really deep conversation, and eventually it just transpired into hanging out instead of worrying about the painting and just spending quality time together and talking and going through everything. We had a lot of really deep conversations about life and religion and politics, and we were completely unfiltered, I guess you could say, and had zero judgment whenever one person would come up with something to say to the other. If it was a completely, let's say, atheist view versus a Christian view, or a Catholic view versus a Christian view, or anything along those lines, or any type of politic, it was just easy and good company, good conversation, and we both gave each other our time to talk, and worked out really well.
And did so? I mean, you guys know I'm a pastor. I lead a church, and you kind of, I guess, discovered that. Did that scare you off at all?
Not even a little.
No, why not?
It didn't affect who you were as a person.
So I wasn't some like weird tyrannical overlord type person.
No, and you never really were trying to like wedge a Bible verse down my throat every time we spoke. It was a normal, fluent conversation, and if you decided to say anything about the Bible, it didn't affect me in any way. It was how you were helping me cope with my questions, or vice versa, or you finding an answer through a verse, which was a good way of conveying what your message was.
Yeah, and so that was just the start. Like, so,
yeah.
And I specifically remember the night before a tournament, we were trying to get your army like finished, ready, and it was probably like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And one of the requirements is to present your army. You know, you can make like a cool display, whatever, for it. And you were kind of lamenting you didn't have one, but you wanted one. And I was just like, let's do this thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 4:30 a.m. rolls around, and this beautifully painted cork display was finished. It was unbelievable.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was some good times. And like, that's such a good feeling.
Totally.
Like to accomplish something together, you know? And so, yeah, it was great. And that was the early inception. But we've had some adventures together since then. Yeah.
Yeah. I have taken a pastor to Vegas. It was great.
Yeah. Have I told you to censor anything before this conversation?
No.
No.
We went for the most harmless reason and didn't end up doing anything that was really what Las Vegas's vibe is all about. I think we played Warhammer, and went to some good restaurants.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Actually, we went to the...
It wasn't quite it. You know,
we went to the Beatles
things.
cover show, which was great. We did the laser...
Shooting each other with Glocks?
Shooting each other with Glocks, with real guns. Yeah, that was fun. Shooting blanks at each other. That was good.
Yeah.
And what else?
I mean, we walked our way through the casino a couple times, and yeah, we got into an interesting encounter in the bathroom at the barbecue joint.
Oh yes, that was funny.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
I mean, your favorite story is when two cars decided to smash into each other.
Yeah, so we are walking down the street, and we witness a car crash happen, and the driver of one car gets out and just starts walking down the street towards us, and the other people getting out of it was a taxi, got out, and the one lady was holding her back, and the driver was just wondering what was going on.
Yeah.
And
he's like, this guy's like bolting down the street, like speed walking out of this nice car. It was like a Mercedes or a Benz or something.
Yeah.
It was a nice car.
It was. And he decides to wind up and throw the keys right at you. And you just say, "What the hell, man?" And I'm like, "Adam, come on, we're in America. People have guns here." And you look at me, and word of a lie, you say, "The Lord protects," and you just kept walking, and I just couldn't believe it. I could not. It was that was the story that I love to tell people because it blew me away.
Yeah. So we had fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had fun. It's been a good time, and I there's an approach that I take. So obviously a lot of Christian people might be like, "How do you survive Vegas with a bunch of non-Christian folks?" Right? Because it's Sin City, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of my approaches is like, hey, I can help control the environment a little bit. Like, we don't have to get ridiculous, over the top, hammered every day, right? Which is like a temptation. So for me, it's like, we get off the plane, we're all in an Uber, we make a short stop through Snoop Dogg's weed shop for everybody else. You know, I don't partake, right? And then it's like, hey, everyone's loading up on 2-4s or whatever. But instead for me, I'm like, hey, you know what I can do? I get a nice bottle of scotch, right? And instead of slamming back 20 Lucky Loggers, it's like, hey, let's have a nice scotch together. Let's have a real conversation, right?
Yeah. And we did. Yeah, it was nice. I remember we finished the tournament, went back to the hotel, and you and I played Warhammer on one of the TV stands. Just in a little narrow way, and just sat there and drank scotch and talked and had a casual game and just relaxed.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, it was great.
It's a good time. We'd say if we ever go again, we need to take a day or two extra and do the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
And just do some real touristy stuff.
Rent a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Drive around the strip.
Yeah.
Rent a Lamborghini to drive 20.
Yeah. I've been doing this video series called Pastor Chats in the Car.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to get a bunch of Pastor Chats in the car in the Lambo.
Yeah. I'm sure you could pick up some interesting characters in Vegas on the strip.
Yeah.
You can have those quick chats.
That's right.
Rent one to Uber for the day. Could do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, make some extra. Uber, what is it? Uber Black?
I don't know.
Uber, like the super fancy Uber?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway. But you, I mean, it's not, how many years do you think it's been that we've been friends?
I want to say at least 6.
6 years? Yeah. And 2 years ago, something big happened in your life. 2 years ago-ish? Something big happened in your life.
Yeah.
Do you want to share about that?
Sure.
Yeah. Cool.
So I was seeing someone for an extended period of time, and we decided that it was over. And within, I wouldn't say 24 hours, I had packed up my clothes and just left everything I owned behind. And I remember calling you and like explaining what had happened, and you and I having some pretty deep talks about everything. And, I could have chosen a path of drugs and alcohol, and instead I chose to exercise and try to eat healthy and better myself so that my mental health would stay upright, especially with all the crap that was going on, like we said, with the world.
Yeah.
It was a difficult time for a couple years anyways.
Yeah. And that was rough because you had just moved into that place.
Yep. Just like, you had helped me move in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, just got all your stuff in here. You can't leave now. Yeah.
Left it all behind, did the Great Reset, and it was great to have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Like I was saying with our conversations, we can just have unfiltered whatever we want to say, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I find oftentimes life gets messy, right? And in the city, a lot of people don't have bandwidth to help each other out, And what I would love to see, especially from people in the church, is intentionally keeping space and time in your life to help people when they're in those seasons where it's like, it's crisis. It's like everything's over. Like, I'm losing everything. I mean, you didn't have to necessarily, but you chose to. You chose to bless and not curse, which is just amazing of you. Chose to leave her a bunch of stuff so that she wouldn't have to struggle or worry about things. But that's crisis for you because you're going out to nothing. And it would be amazing if the church left a lot more bandwidth in their life to help people when it's those crisis moments and to just be there and to be a friend.
Yeah, I noticed a lot too when I moved here, because when I moved here, we had met. The mentality of people in the city is much different than my hometown. I grew up in a smaller hometown, and people actually stop and will talk to you. Here, nobody seems to give anyone time of day, which is unfortunate because you never know what that 5-minute conversation might do for you. That little small communication window could be life-changing for some, right?
Talk more about that in particular. What do you see as some major trends, cultural trends in the city that affect how people relate to each other?
Everyone is so worried about on time for everything and so focused on themselves, like head down on their phones, no one looking where they're going. Nobody has time to stop and talk to you for any reason, right? The big cities, the hustle and bustle and move and go. And in reality, like everyone might get along much easier if we just stopped for 30 seconds and just said hi to somebody. You never know what somebody's going through, and you could just stop and say hello, and that might change somebody's whole day, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking literally about. We can bring some Bible into this. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. It always comes to it, right? Whenever we talk, so it's okay.
Well, when you get into the realm of morality, like this is talking about a design for humanity. It's like it's talking about the heart, you know, and so it's like this book has done so much to shape my heart that I'm always like, how do I relate to this more generalized concept? It's like, well, I have an example of what I think you're talking about. And that's the story of the Good Samaritan, which is like, so the Samaritan was the was the enemy of the Jews, right? And there's this guy who'd been attacked by robbers, left for dead on the side of the road, right? And the priest walks by. He's like the religious elite of the day. And he's like, I can't do it. Like, I'll just cross the road and avoid this guy. Like, I can't get myself dirty. I'm too clean, too righteous or whatever. And that happens a couple of times. And it's actually the enemy of the guy, culturally speaking, that stops, helps him, houses him, clothes him, right? He gives of his own money, time, energy, and effort, right? And it's like, hey, you got to have some bandwidth in your life. You got to have some space that day to do this, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's like that guy it was probably more than 5 minutes. I know he said 5 minutes, but probably took a little more than 5 minutes, but he just saved that guy's life.
Yep.
And if someone can be in a situation that bad where they're left for dead by robbers, it's like with the mental health crisis that we're in today, I think 5 minutes to have a little chat with somebody may be very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad that it's such a strain on young people nowadays for us to keep producing and always be worried about when's your next paycheck and where are you going to work next and how can you continue on this same cycle, because everything gets so expensive and it's part of the stress of being in the world today, right? Which is why we've all gone through so much in the last couple of years, and it just gets harder and harder when you can't band together with others, right? You feel like you're alone. People were isolated, didn't have that ability to just reach out to someone to say, hey, I need some help right now.
Yeah, totally. That's good, man. So on that note, what's your opinion currently of where the church is at with this? Would you say the church is more like the priest who walks on the side of the road, kind of switches sides and doesn't want to deal with the person? Or would you say generally in your experience, or maybe not between us, take me and our relationship out of it?
Right.
Or is the church more like the Good Samaritan and is more prone to get in there and help? Or do you think the church is more caught up with its own self-righteousness and would rather avoid?
So my personal speaking from when I was young and growing up in a very Catholic-based city where it was just a mesh of churches all over, it all seemed like it was more or less a status thing. And you just needed to go on Sundays. I didn't feel like anyone was rewarded for being there, or not even necessarily rewarded. Like, what was the gain that people were getting from going?
Right.
I didn't see it. I went as a kid,
right.
And it never dawned on me why I was going or what I was doing there.
Right.
Nothing really stuck because it just seemed like it was, how do I say, like a cycle?
Right.
Rather than like a nurturing environment, it was more or less just like, hey, come sit in the pew, read the book, sing some songs, everybody go home.
Right.
I didn't feel like there was ever any engagement in the community. It was more or less just kind of like, yeah, we went to church on Sunday.
You check that box or put on that badge.
That's
the Boy
right?
Scout
So
badge.
if anyone asks, hey, we went to church on Sunday, right?
Yeah. So there's something interesting in that because, like, you said there's something about small town culture where that's different than city culture.
Right.
That's good, different, right? But then there's also something in small town culture where it's lost the essence of what the true thing is supposed to be, at least from my opinion.
Totally.
Because I didn't grow up there. I have a totally different experience from you. Like, I was never forced to go to church. In fact, my dad was like a self-proclaimed atheist. He's like, you know, done with all that stuff, right? Maybe at a certain point, I should maybe talk to him about it more. Like, when was his exodus out of that? Was that his parents or his grandparents, or when did that exactly happen? But he was done. He's still kind of like done with it, right? But anyways, it's interesting that you noticed that growing up in that. It's like, there's something here. There's something good about small town culture, but there's something missing in the essence of the church here. Yeah.
Yeah, like in terms of culture, it wasn't always so go back home. People would stop at the pump and say hi to each other for 10 minutes just to like see how their day was going. It was nice because, you know, you could take your dog for a walk and you end up talking to a stranger for 10 minutes while your dogs are playing just cause.
Yeah.
And then you go to church and it's like nobody knows each other. And it was this like
even in a small town
environment. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember ever seeing my parents talking to anyone when we were there. It was just like, show up, get in the door, do your stuff, and get out.
Right.
And, you know.
So this may be putting you on a little bit.
Okay.
I'm nervous because the whole church is watching. They're going to judge how good of a job I've done with you as friends.
Here we go. Yeah.
What do you think, based on now our relationship, what do you think church is supposed to be?
What do I think church is supposed to be? That's a hard question.
Yeah.
So from what I've gathered, and I feel like it's a good thing, is more about building a community and a strong community where people can count on each other, which is really important because when I was growing up, my dad always taught me that you love unconditionally, you give all you can, and you expect nothing. If you do those three things, you'll have happy relationships in your life. And you'll see how much you get rewarded from people without expecting anything. And I'm hoping that in your eyes, what you can do is build your church and your community to give everything and expect nothing. Because when you are receiving those gifts or anything that somebody does for you, it's so much more of a reward than it would ever be if you were expecting, I'm expecting you to do this because I did this for you. Right?
Dude, I love that. And I'll just attest to our relationship. Like, you're so generous, and to be friends with you, like on my side of things, like we pour out for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people on the down and out, a lot of people struggling with all sorts of stuff. And it was just like selfishly, it was just really nice to be around someone who just liked to kind of act similarly to that and just bless, you know, and just pour out and not have it hanging over the relationship, right? And because there's been seasons in our life where we give up a lot in terms of salary or like whatever to do what we do, and when you're like, hey man, like, you know, let's just go out for drinks. I'll get it. Don't worry. Or like, let's just go for dinner. I got this. Right. It was just like, oh, this is such a blessing to us when we pour out our life for people. And so I'll just say, thank you. Like, it's been,
thank you.
It's been great. And it's like, and then I've reciprocated when we can.
Absolutely.
And it's been fun. And it's like, I think you and I, we get to see the fruit of that. You are willing to take a risk, make a deposit in me, and then that bears fruit, right? Totally. You plant a seed, you water it, and it bears fruit. And that's a biblical concept right there, right? So yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Just being a good friend, man.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of serious talks, and like, just like we're doing right now. It's just fluid, normal.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
There's one day, guys, you learn from James.
There we go.
So one day, James calls me up. You call me up. And all you said, I don't know if you remember this. I said, hey, man, what's up? You said, hey, I don't know if anyone told you today, but you're awesome. That's all I want to tell you.
Sounds about right. Yeah. Sounds about right.
And I forget if we talked about something else or whatever, but
I'm sure.
Yeah. But in my eyes, like that conversation could have ended right there. And you did something that day that there's a book here this is a collection of books, right? It's the book of Hebrews. It says, encourage one another daily so that your hearts may not be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin.
Mm-hmm.
And I find in a lot of relationships where there's not encouragement, it often breeds deep insecurity. Is this person mad at me? Do I have
absolutely?
Do I love? Am I like? Are we on equal playing field?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I haven't seen someone in a long time, like, what's going on? And I remember feeling that with my parents. It's like I didn't know when I saw them if something was going to come up, like where they were just mad,
right?
And I would have no idea what the heck it was. And so to lead with encouragement is just like it's biblical. It's this Christian idea that we keep our hearts soft and we protect each other and we protect friendships through encouragement. And I just love that about you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always try to be the one to reach out, right? It's nice to, even if you haven't heard from a friend in months and months, just call them, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy. We all have our own lives, but it's nice to get that phone call once in a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you learn that? Where did that come from? Because most people don't do that,
I just try not to have self-doubt. Try to just reach out to people.
Yeah.
Be friendly. Smile when you see somebody. That's all it really takes. Just walk up and smile. Say hi.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I did to you.
Yeah.
Said, hey, man, those models are sweet.
Yeah.
Any chance you want to show me how to do that?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
The rest was history. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas certainly was history.
Yeah, that was something. Sin City Brewery.
Tell them about Midnight Steaks.
Oh, yes. Yes. We ended up at Herbs and Rye at midnight because they were half-price steaks. And then my phone died. Your phone had no service. We had to ask strangers in the bar. And I remember you walking up and said, do you want to save a life tonight? And the lady was so concerned, but she obliged, called us an Uber because the cab outside was charging like $100 and something for us to get to the hotel.
Yeah.
It was like a 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
Like, dude, come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
It was good times. I can't wait till we get to go again.
Probably next year.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think so.
So 2024 Vegas.
Yep.
Happening.
I think so.
We're going to go to Vegas, do the most innocent thing in the world.
Play with toy soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sweet. Well, dude, this is great. This has been a lot of fun. I want to leave you guys now to go and have a conversation about what it's like to just engage anybody, right? What is it like to engage the world with your faith? What is it like to just be who you are, who God's made you to be, and make friends with anyone, right? And I heard someone once say, right, like, this will wreck your theology, your understanding of God, the study of God theology, right? This will wreck your theology is when you love someone so much and they're not even a Christian brother, right? Like and Christians got to think about that. Like when the goal is, hey, I just want to love a person, I'm not going to treat them like a project. They're going to like bait and switch them. Hey, you want to come to my house? Oh, by the way, it's Bible study night or something like that, right? And when it's just like you genuinely just love a person for the sake of, for love's sake, because of who God's made you to be and for what, from the Christian perspective, what Jesus did for you, gave his life up for you, it can just change everything. It changes the dynamic, it changes the culture, and it just opens up doors for you guys. And so have fun talking about that. What is it supposed to be? What are our relationships really supposed to be? Have fun with your R3 leaders, ask some good questions of each other, plan out some next steps where we can just be better at making friends, because God knows people need it right now.
Absolutely.
For sure. So actually, I just remembered this story.
Oh God. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that.
Hey, so you can start praying now. It's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice. Nice.
Do you remember the time where we were doing church in our backyard?
Oh. Do I ever?
I forget, but it was like something like that week. I don't know. You were just like...
We had a bunch of leftover food. Can't remember from where. I think something happened where I inherited just like burgers and hot dogs and sausages, and I had a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember calling you saying, "Hey, Adam, I have a bunch of meat. Do you want to do a barbecue? Like, I'll just feed everyone. You don't have to worry about anything."
Yeah, yeah.
And then we went out the night before and drank till 4 a.m. And I was a wreck that next morning. And you called me, you're like, "Hey, a lot of starving, hungry people here. Where are you at, man?" I'm like,
"Listen, you."
I'm coming.
And to your credit, you came.
And you grilled everything because I could not stand up.
You ponied up, and you came through on your commitment.
Yep.
And it was great.
Just food was great.
Yeah, your experience of that day. Anyways, this has been good. At the end of each of these, for most of my other guests, I've been asking them to pray. I won't put that on you today.
Appreciate it.
Unless you're ready, we're going to put you in the bathtub after you meet Jesus yet.
I do need a shower, but I'm okay.
All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to pray. Is that cool?
You do you.
Sweet, man. All right, guys, let's pray together, and then let's close this out. God, thank you that we can look on to something eternal, and that, Jesus, you provide that example for us, that you've been taking enemies and making them friends. And so how much more just regular old people walking through the streets could we just make friends if we're willing to lay down our life, our insecurities, our presuppositions, whatever it is. And so, Holy Spirit, form our hearts, and whatever it is inside us that is polarizing us or preventing us from just being open and genuine with people, would you put that to death so that we could come truly alive? And thank you, Jesus, you make that all possible on the cross. And I pray this in your good name. Amen. There it is. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
So, how bad was that?
Not bad at all.
All right, good.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Think it was all right?
Yeah, I think so.